everybody, and welcome back to Means Woodshop. Well, Happy New Year, everybody. Did you have a good New Year's? Did you party? Did you get drunk? I celebrated New Year's here last night with my fam, shooting fireworks and stuff, and the night before I put this to good use. Because of the New Year's festivities over the weekend, I was not able to get to a project video at the time, but I did finish this up, and since I already made a beer mug video with this, I didn't make a video for this, but this is so cool. Let me come around and show it to you. This is the beer mug I made. I just finished it a couple minutes ago, actually, putting this twine around it. I got a Dremel tool for Christmas, so I used that to carve out this Rebel Alliance emblem in the front of the mug. I wanted to do something on the front of it. I didn't know what to do. I'm not a big Viking fan or medieval fan or anything, so I felt like I'd kind of be a poser if I did that. But I am a Star Wars fan, so I was like, you know what? Rebel Alliance. I put the epoxy coating in there last night. You can see it's nice and shiny. I got to use my router table on this to round over the outside edge and the inside edge, which is super cool and makes it look just that much more nicer. So let me step back over here. So since I do not have a project video, I thought I would make another video to capitalize on my most popular video, which was how to make a beer mug, which was this beer mug that I made out of a single pallet board. I want this video to be kind of a comprehensive instructional video on how to care for your beer mug slash tips and other perspectives and just information that I wasn't able to get to in the video for this, because that video is already like a whopping 27 minutes long, which is a lot of stuff in one video, and it makes it pretty long, and I wanted to keep it all down to pretty much just the steps on how to create it. But there was information in there that I feel is important that I wasn't able to get around to just because of time. I think I'm going to start at finishing a beer mug. So when you're finishing a beer mug, one thing I did was anytime I finished a beer mug, I sprayed it with this polyacrylic protective finish. What that does is it protects the wood on the outside. And one thing I did on this one and this one was before I even put this on, I put a coat of mineral oil on there, a light coat. A lot of times if you're doing a cutting board or kitchen utensils, you'll do a heavy coat of this and let it really soak into the wood and then wipe off the excess and then repeat that process however many times you want, really. But this, I just did a light coat on there because I wanted it to really bring out the color and texture and grain of the wood, and once I had that, I immediately wiped off excess and hit it with this, because this doesn't bring out the grain or the color very good. It's just protection only. I will say that a lot of people might not be comfortable doing this. If you don't feel comfortable with this, then you could just use the mineral oil if you like, because this is food safe. It won't hurt you. It's used as a lubricant laxative. Some people may argue that this is unsafe for something that you're going to be using as something you're going to be consuming out of, but really, if I don't spray the inside with it, I just spray the outside to protect the outside, and after that, the only part of your body that really comes in contact with where this is like right here, your lip, like your bottom lip. So, and really my lip is more on this epoxy coating that I put on the rim of the mug. Just your lip barely touching that, I feel pretty positive that you're gonna live. Mark from the Wood Whisperer made a comment once. He wasn't, recommending that you do this, but he was saying something along the lines that most finishes, once they're dry, are pretty safe. Now you wouldn't want to use this on like a cutting board, because then your food is having direct contact with the chemical. On the outside of that, I think you're pretty safe. As far as we're talking about finishing, every single mug I've ever made, I've coated the inside with epoxy. It is FDA approved epoxy. I was researching epoxy and using it in mugs before I ever started making mugs. And there's no conclusive yes or no if it's a good thing to do. There are quite a few people that say they can't find any epoxy that claims to be food safe for an application such as this. So there are people out there that are uncomfortable with using epoxy, and that's fine if you're one of those people. There's nothing wrong with being concerned for your health like that. Me personally, it says FDA approved. I'm putting a beverage in there and it's pretty much just plastic. I feel safe using it, and I've been using this one ever since I made it almost every weekend. Well, I feel fine. So I believe it's safe. Now let me tell you what you can do if you do not feel safe using epoxy. You can buy some beeswax, and the beeswax is made for mugs. A lot of times it's used for drinking horns that are made with like real horns. And people will melt down this beeswax and coat the inside much the same as you would with the epoxy. And that is a really safe alternative to epoxy if you don't want to use epoxy. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. I will say the epoxy is a one-time thing. You dump it in there, it dries, and it's good forever. Beeswax is a maintenance thing, so once you put beeswax in there, maybe, oh, my brother-in-law has a drinking horn and he has to redo the beeswax about every month. I think he does it less because he's kind of lazy. It's something that you're going to have to reapply, so you have to keep that in mind, that it's not a permanent solution like the epoxy is. But if you feel safe with the epoxy, that's what I would go with. And you know, I'm kind of lazy, so I don't feel like reapplying beeswax every time, you know, every so often. Now that we've got that out of the way, that was something I had in the video for this, but cut out for time's sake. Another thing I want to touch on was washing, because I have made these for friends and family, and they always ask me about washing them. Can I wash it? How do I wash it? With any wood kitchen utensil or something that is gonna need to be cleaned, never put it in the dishwasher. I actually don't know why. I just hear every woodworker say, do not put your wood products in the dishwasher. I assume the soap and the detergent and all the stuff in the washer probably breaks down the integrity of the wood. That would be my best guess, and it would probably make it all fuzzy and gross. So this is what I do after a night of rebel rousing and drinking out of a beer mug. Usually the next day, I just take it and I pour some dish soap in there, fill it up a little bit with warm water, and get a long scrub brush and just scrub it down on the inside and wipe it down, rinse it out real good, and let it dry, and then it goes in my cabinet until the following weekend. So really, you don't have to put a lot of time or effort into caring for your wooden beer mug. Just clean the inside when you're done. If any water or soap splashes out on the outside, just pat it down with a towel and get it off, and it's good for whenever you need it next. And that's another reason why I put this on there, so water and soap doesn't soak into the wood and potentially break it down. And let me go over to the table saw so I can make another comment on something. Okay, so when I was making this beer mug, looking back on the video, when I was showing you how to cut the individual slats that make up the body of the mug, I cut them a really weird way, and I have a reason for why I didn't cut them the traditional way. This whole build, the whole purpose of it was making the mug from a single pallet board. And that's why I didn't have enough material for the bottom, which is why I used this piece of walnut from the other mug that is featured in that video, because I didn't have enough of this wood to do that, because I needed a handle for it, and I wanted the handle especially to be made out of the same wood as the rest of the mug. And the wood is so thin, and the strips are so thin, that I cut it a really weird way. I don't even remember how I did it. I think I was like, I cut long strips first through the fence. I was cutting long strips through, and then after I had the long strips, I set my fence up with a stop block, used my miter gauge to get the length of the strips, and that works fine. You could do it that way, but the way that I did it for this mug was, this is actually some of the original wood that was used to make this mug that I had left over. And what I did was the width of my strips on this is the width of the side of this board. So what I did was I set my fence up to the thickness of these, which is kind of thick. I locked it down and then I laid it flat and ran it through. It was already cut to the total length that I wanted, and so I ran it through until I got enough strips, and then I went back, took the strips and set my blade to the angle that I wanted to and ran them all through the same way I did in the other video. That, I think, would have been a much easier way for me to show you how to do it, but just because of the piece I was working with, the pallet board was kind of awkward, and remember it had that bow in it, so it was a little bit unsafe. That's why I cut it the way that I did. And I did have somebody asking me what the angle was that I put on the slats, and it was a 10-degree angle for this mug. And this one, they were really thick, and so I believe these are cut at a 17-degree angle. So that's something to keep in mind if you make a beer mug. You can experiment with the size and thickness of your slats, and that's going to give you a different angle depending on what size you make your slats. And that whole thing with the slats, that's why on this beer mug I have this unevenness going on with the slats, especially right here, which is like right where my lip goes, which is annoying because with that little groove right there, it makes it where liquid wants to try to come out there. From a single pallet board, I didn't have enough of the slats that I was making to size, so I had to take some scrap that was left over from that board, fill in the gaps pretty much. So that's what gave me this unevenness, because on this one, you see that wasn't a problem. I think that covers everything that I wanted to cover originally. I hope this video helps. I hope it answers questions that this video wasn't able to answer, and I hope it answers any questions you have that maybe you couldn't find in any other videos, and it'll give you a good idea on what to do when you're finishing a beer mug, and then how to care for it after you finish it. And you could take it on many journeys with you and drink many cold brews from it. My friend Will actually uses his to drink chocolate milk from, but you know, that's his choice. That's what he wants to do. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative. If you did enjoy it, please like it, subscribe to my channel, damn it, because I need some more. Also, hit that little bell too, so you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. This coming weekend, I'll be on a new project, and I'll have another project video for you. I don't know what we're going to be making yet, but it's going to be something cool, so stick around and stay tuned for that. Also, I do have a Means Woodshop Facebook page if you'd like to follow me on there, and I also have Means Woodshop on Instagram if you'd like to follow me on that too. And that's it. I'm not the president. I don't do Twitter. Twitter's out of the question. If you're looking for me on Twitter, I'm not gonna be there, because I don't do that. Screw Twitter. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time on Means Woodshop.